So good evening. Welcome to the Friday Study Circle. And just today I was just wondering, like just reflecting on the fact that how beautiful usually the circles are, because like here we discuss the texts of various masters and mystics, and like I myself, depending on my frame of mind or what I just by mistake, something landed in front of me, I can just read that. But when we come together as a circle, the topics, the variety, the I don't know where the things go. I mean, it's very expansive, and it's a very grateful feeling most of the weeks, almost all I must say. One feels that because of what one was exposed to and how one grows with these sharings and reflections. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. So what we usually do for those of us who are joining us for the first time is that every week mostly we uh, basically whenever we read whatever we read or come across that week, we get it to the circle. Anything that we have maybe questions on, anything we would like to reflect on together, or if there is something that we found really beautiful that we just want to share with everybody, so anything of that matter from any master or mystic, we mainly focus on the works of Mother and Sri Aurobindo because most of us, are very familiar with their work and love Mother and Sri Aurobindo. But like any mystic, any master that you resonate with, you're very welcome to share from whatever they have said or written. So welcome. And I would now request anybody who's ready to start with whatever they have got for this week. And in case you have just come to listen, that's wonderful too. If you have any sharing, any comments, once the person before you speaks, stops, you can unmute and share. So thank you. Who would like to go first? Captain, would you like to go first since?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
start.
Okay.
Uh, Thank you. Uh, Nowadays, I'm going through the synthesis of yoga. So, a very interesting topic came, and I think I'll read out. Probably it can be uh, our first imperative aim. It starts with the paragraph starts with our first imperative aim.
Is this it?
Yes,
Let me draw back. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, the name of the chapter is Realization of the Cosmic Self. So this is about our own being. Actually, who am I? Or the sort of question comes. So I'll just read out first. Our first imperative aim, when we draw back from mind, life, body, and all else that is not our eternal being, is to get rid of the false idea of self by which we identify ourselves with the lower existence and can realize only our apparent being as perishable or mutable creatures in a perishable or even mutable world. We have to know ourselves as the self, the spirit, the eternal. We have to exist consciously in our true being. Therefore, this must be our primary, if not our first one, and all absorbing idea and effort in the path of knowledge. But when we have realized the eternal self that we are, when we have become that inalienably, we have still a secondary aim to establish the true relation between the eternal self that we are and the mutable existence and mutable world, which till now we had falsely taken for our real being and our sole possible status. So it's very wonderful. Like we have to recognize ourselves, like the realization of the cosmic self. In that, once we start realizing that the body, the mind, and the life, we are not this. Once we start thinking from the very beginning and the development or in the path, actually the sadhak, so I think he moves forward, and there's so many other ills which are already occupied our mind and physical body or in the life, so we can overcome all these very easily. So the first and foremost thing that we have to recognize ourselves, we have to discover ourselves, uh, we have to understand very clearly that who am I actually, what is my position, why did I come, what is the purpose of my life. So these questions very nicely answered in this actually, that we have to segregate because that false ego that I'm the body and I got in the mind and I got the knowledge and things like that. So these are all false, and these are perishable and these are mutable. And so we have to exactly the 100% when we call for purification of the self. So then all this dirt or dust we have to get rid of. So this is a very nice beginning of the chapter. So I thought we'll concentrate on this today. I've, I've done if any reflections from anybody.
Taru, can you just, this part, can you paste it in the chat window? Yeah. So this is actually, this is so powerful. This little text, I think this can be, even if we don't read any other scripture, it's so beautiful. Every time we read something that appears like a sutra, that we can just stick to that and just work on that actually, make it our practice. So this, what you have shared, I think this is so, I mean, today, if we don't read any other thing in the Friday study circle, this should be enough. This is so important, very, very important. And this is what we have been also through our sessions, and also nowadays with the words of Tenzing Palmo also, we have been stressing again and again for ourselves and all of us. So he just sharing something which comes to me here. So he's saying that the first aim, here, the first imperative aim, when I'm, what we in Vedanta, we come through this by neti neti, right? So I am not the thought, I am not the feeling, I am not the sense perception. And you kind of step back from all of the manifestation. And then you see yourself as, who am I? But it is not that intangible that we can not talk about it. It is a little tangible, we can talk about it. And that's the beauty, that it's so intangible and yet can be talked about. So the awareness with which a thought is seen, the awareness with which a feeling is seen, the awareness with which I know there is a headache or a, some sense perception is there, that awareness is my true nature. Usually I'm lost in either the thought, in the feeling, okay, I'm sad today, okay, I'm very sorrowful today, okay, I'm happy today. So the focus goes on the happy, sad, sorrowful, all these, the content of awareness. Now he's saying here that identify yourself with the true consciousness, know yourself as awareness. And he's saying that here, therefore this must be our primary. How we cannot skip this step. I cannot go to the next step which is the transformation of mind, life, and body. Transforming the emotions, transforming the thoughts, transforming my physical consciousness. I cannot go to that step if I have not yet worked on this primary step. So he says, therefore, this must be our primary, if not first one, an all-absorbing idea. Primary तो होना ही चाहिए, secondary नहीं बनाया इसको, secondary किसी और को बना रहे हैं. So what comes after enlightenment? What comes after the knot of ego is released? Transformation of mind, life, and body. So he has given us the full employment for a lifetime. This is enough of an employment, that first you realize who you truly are. That itself is a task. It's not that easy. One needs a lifetimes of a journey, so that you inalienably, now you cannot be separated from knowing yourself as awareness. So no situation can separate you from that knowing, no matter how overwhelming that situation may be, right? And then once I have stabilized, now this stabilizing takes a long time. This is where I believe our effort lies. In every day-to-day situation, knowing myself as awareness, knowing myself not as the content of awareness, but awareness itself. Because again and again, things are so glittery that my focus goes on again and again to the content. And then the next stuff start, which is, this gives me heat talking about it. So the next step is what Mother also shares in her own words, that to turn each thought, each feeling, each emotion, each sensation to the divine. And which means now I do not exist for a separate egoistic self, which wants to fulfill its incompletion. Now I know I am complete. Now knowing and living as I am complete, how would I manifest that beauty out of my mind, life, and body? So this is the next step, which is the transformation of, again, this is just my reflection. It was just coming to me while we were going through it. So really very, very powerful and just enough in itself. So thank you for sharing. And please, I would invite other reflections. Yeah.
The one word which has been again and again repeated, mutable, perishable. I think it's also very important that, because we realize that, right? Like, why do we want to move, step back or something? Because we can realize that everything is transitory. Like, I get happiness, but it doesn't last, right? Like, a lot of things promise stuff, desires attract me, but it doesn't last. I just want more and more and more. So realizing the mutability and the changeability and perishability of the world, I think really helps in beginning the journey. And I believe that's why it was, I'll just share the screen again if you want, again and again. The creatures, right? Perishable or mutable creatures in a perishable or ever mutable world. And I think after mutable existence, again, like, yeah. Badalji, did you want to read further, or this is what you wanted to share
No,
today?
this much only, because actually when Manikaji was talking, so I was remembering about the definition of education given by Swami Vivekananda. Like Swami Vivekananda says that education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. So exactly the same type of thought what we are discussing today, the same type of thought, because it is only, we have to just manifest, it is already there, it is stored. We are not recognizing, that doesn't mean that it is not there, it is already there. Now we have to segregate, or we have to recognize, or we have to understand, or what. So exactly that is the definition he gave to one gathering when somebody asked, how do we explain education? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patilji. Anybody else who would want to, I don't know, have anything to say on what was just shared, or anything else that we would be discussing today?
I think regarding desires also what you were sharing, Taru, I think very good catch, mutability appears again and again. And so even when I'm trying to fulfill a desire, what am I really wanting? I'm wanting a fulfillment. And as you were sharing that whatever fulfillment I get, I see that it's only temporary. It leaves me again and again empty handed. It does not fulfill me. And the beauty of our ignorance is such that it's so blinding. The ignorance is so blinding that I don't see this. I don't see that it's not that I have not fulfilled my desires. Many desires have been fulfilled. Okay, I wanted to get married, done. I wanted to have children, done. But as if there is this hungry, something hungry ghost within me, that whatever I feed him, bhaiya, kitna, it doesn't get fulfilled. And all that, it's not that the intention is bad. The intention is lasting fulfillment. But the beauty of the ignorance is that I don't see that running after desires and fulfilling desires of the sort that I run after, usually material desires, it leaves me again and again empty handed. And yet, lifetime after lifetime, I run after it. I think that's the blinding, part I see here, that मतलब कुछ जैसे कुछ शौक चाहिए कि क्या चाहिए कि देखो तो सही क्या हो क्या रहा है. So yeah, that's really just like divine is powerful. I feel that ignorance is also too powerful. Yeah.
In this Wednesdays, sorry, you want to complete what you were saying?
No. Yeah, please.
In this Wednesday's Harmony Circle, the topic, the thing ended with, like how I'm sitting in the prison with the key is in my hand. Again, everything, is just coming, like kind of hitting one on its face, that when I know or when I can see, right? Like if I see, I can see the truth, right? Like I might choose not to see, but if I see, I can see, and yet I choose either not to see, or this feeling that I haven't received from here, but I'll receive from somewhere else. It's just amazing. Sometimes when we speak to people, so it's like, this thing, it keeps coming back, right? Like, has any desire ever been the end? They're like, no, I wanted so much. And now I've got so much more than I wanted. Say, talking about finances. But now my goal is this. He has getting so much fulfilled. And it's like not a new thing, right? Like, this is how we have been living. And yet, it's shocking. It's just like how, they share that Yudhishthir, when he was asked, that question, that what shocks you about the human existence? And he said that people, we see dying people every day. We see people dying every day. And yet we think we will not die, or our people close to us won't die. Similar to that, I feel this is it, that it's as shocking, but like right now, at least in what stage I am, that I feel that the next one, either the next one or the one that I'm currently in, will mutate and will give me something, will give, this thing about will give me this will give me something. Like Mother has said it numerous times, right? That how it's only the divine, right? Like focus only on divine, everything. Like there's no if and but about it. Very strong language use, and all the masters and mystics, and yet there is something in me which says that either I'm special, or what would anybody know? I know that my next thing, my next intelligent endeavor will give me bliss and joy that nobody can. Like it's amazing how we can fool ourselves so beautifully eternally. Since eternity, it's like we are kind of here. And yeah, I mean, the only ways forward is what I want to believe. So yeah. Anybody, please, anything that's coming to you, please. Yes,
Sri Aurobindo says this line, I think one of his poems, I don't remember which one, where he says that the way we behave as egos is uh, an eternal no, as you were saying, eternal no and a limping yes. So chahiye, but not now, not sure. So this, the ability that we have, each one of us, to know and realize our true nature, it's there with us 24/7, but we have so many other important things to attend, that's what he shares very humorously, that it's an eternal no and a very limping yes, that time hi nahi hai abhi, baad mein aana types. Yeah.
Is there anybody who would want to unmute and go next, or should we take up a generic topic now?
If you have something to share, Taru, you'd share.
Yeah, I actually wanted to share something on freedom. It's from the Sandit part. Would you see whether it's available?
Uh-huh.
I wanted to pull it up. I didn't. It says the right to be free is the title, but the first line is many times in his writings. But I think that would be quite common.
Yeah, got it. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so it's from the Sunlit Path, and the title is The Right to be Free. Many times in his writings, particularly in the synthesis of yoga, Sri Aurobindo warns us against the imagining of those who believe they can do sadhana without rigorous self-control and who heed all sort of inspirations which lead them to a dangerous imbalance where all their repressed, hidden, secret desires come out into the open under the pretense of liberation from ordinary conventions and ordinary reason. I'll first read and then I'll share my reflection. One can be free only by soaring to the heights high above human passions. Only when one has achieved a higher, selfless freedom and done away with all desires and impulses does one have the right to be free, like done away from all desires and impulses. But neither should people who are very reasonable, very moral, according to ordinary social laws, think themselves wise, for their wisdom is an illusion and holds no profound truth. And the last para is very beautiful. One who would break the law must be above the law. One who would ignore conventions must be above conventions. One who would despise all rules must be above all rules. And the motive of this liberation should never be a personal, egoistic one. The desire to satisfy an ambition, aggrandize one's personality through a feeling of superiority out of contempt for others, to set oneself above the herd and regard it with condescension. Be on your guard when you feel yourself superior and look down on others ironically, as if to say, I am no longer made of such stuff. That's when you go off track and are in danger of falling into an abyss. So it was just this much in the Sandit Path, where I read. So personally, for me, I don't know why, but this word, freedom, free, kind of really comes again and again when I'm even, like working on the harmony circle. I again and again find myself with this word. I want to be free, or, when this will happen, I'll be free. So this was quite, eye opening again for me, that You first need to reach a place even to be asking for freedom. Because, me being me, my freedom would also be based on, my conditions and my superiorities. I was discussing something with my father this morning, and it was about, it was from the Upanishads, and it was like that how, a dharmi, like a person who believes in dharma, he would sticks to, kriya, like he will stick to work that needs to be done. How, say, anybody, like an achiever, a businessman would stick to his business, education, it was, would stick to education, that how cons- based on where we are standing or what we believe to be true right now, we think this is it, right? Like how that, I don't know, again, I think last time also, Monica, we were discussing this spiritual egoism, right? And that's kind of the worst kind. So on the same lines, I found this really nice that yes, it sounds beautiful, but again, one cannot drop their vigilance, that what am I asking for and what does it really mean? That I do find myself, if somebody says something and I'm like, oh my God, how are they there? I do find something in me which says that, but I'm not there. Like, ek, see, the usi time you catch that and you say that, you offer it or whatever, but it still says, and here it's so beautifully said that then that is how you fall, right? That is how you fall. I remember, there was some talk again, and it was about a Tibetan monk. I don't remember the names. Monica, you might, you're good with names. And in that, they said that there was this person who got, who wasn't supposed to be a monk, but his wife died during childbirth. And she said, don't remarry, become a monk. So that poor guy became, a monk. But he was so amazing at it that he really rose really fast and he was given so many teachings. And then he was visiting some other monk, I don't know, whatever you call it. And there the main person said that a very big person is coming, like a really good monk is coming and everybody should welcome him and we are looking forward to him. So when he arrived, the disciples of that big monk welcomed him with so much, joy and servitude that, oh, we were waiting for you. And that thing just got pride in him. Like he said that, oh wow, these people were waiting for me. And it changed, his, like, whatever he was, it changed. So the master made him wait for, I think, over a few months before he met him. So by the time he came back to the ground, that, nahi, nahi, I'm not that high. It was a false illusion. And when he was back on the ground, then the master called him and said that, okay, now you are ready. And he actually gave him his whole thing, that now you, after some time, will lead these. So it's like, and Kabir also, Monica, you would know the so many duas would say it again and again, right? Like how whatever you are involved with, वो आपके ऊपर सर पे चढ़ के बैठ जाता है, right? Like it starts riding on your head, right? Like the way these things are. So again, considering the word freedom was so always kind of beautiful, and it is beautiful, but again, there's nothing, everything comes with vigilance. There's not vigilance, sorry. So what it, yeah. So here, what there were more things. I think this thing again, that one can be free only by soaring to the heights high above human passions, right? Like again, whatever, it's like desire is the helper, desire is the bar. So desire is not bad, but what I'm desiring for is what will take, it will decide where I am progressing or whether I am using it as a step back. Selfless freedom, here it says, right? Not about yourself, like freedom in general. And this, of course, this thing that where it says that the people who are very reasonable, very moral, and they think themselves wise, they need to be careful, because wisdom is an illusion and holds no profound truth. Again, this is one thing that hits one, again and again, that my intelligence, meri chalaki, is holding me back. It's making me pay huge prices because I think I know. I think that, this is how this life is and this is what will take me ahead. And I know that it always comes and bites me, and yet I don't know, want to be intelligent again. So the one who breaks the law must be above the law, above all conventions, all rules. And most importantly, liberation should never be a personal, egoistic, goal. This feeling of superiority, and so I think that was
I think the way it has been portrayed about liberation and enlightenment, it appears to all of us in our limited minds, we see it as if कि उसको कुछ मिल गया, जैसे हमको रिवॉर्ड्स मिलते हैं, मेडल्स मिलते हैं ना, सो एज इफ की enlightenment is a medal that somebody got, and that's how the limited mind sees it. And maybe there is a purpose to that seeing, because that's why we run after it. I don't know, maybe there is a purpose to it कि चलो कुछ तो ग्लिटर दिखाना पड़ेगा ना, मतलब जिसकी वजह से वो भागे उसकी तरफ. And the beauty is, I think I heard even Tenzing Palmo was sharing one day, I remember that she shared that enlightenment is not personal. And how it cannot be personal? Because see, imagine that there is space and then there is a furniture in the space. Now, most often I know myself as the furniture, my image, my thought, my possessions, my rewards, my achievements, that is the furniture. Now, slowly, as I detach myself from the furniture, I see that, oh, I was always the space. So it's nothing that I gained. No, it's nothing that I gained, but I lost the clinging to the furniture. And that's why it can never be personal, because that space, which we call as now my truth, my true consciousness, that is everybody's truth. So the moment I say that I got enlightened, or, it's my true consciousness, immediately I'm creating a separation, which does not exist in that space, because that space is a continuity. In other house also is that space, in the next house also is the same space. So I cannot hold my jurisdiction that this is my kingdom, my space, my enlightenment. And that's why this warning that if liberation is happening, in the sense of egoistic, that mujhe kuch mil gaya, so main to nahi gaya kahin, and that as if, imagine that there is a drain or a pipe and there are blockages in the pipe. So ego is a blockage in the pipe. And whenever we see something beautiful in our own being or in other people, that is when the blockage is not there. So actually, no one ever got something. It's just that the flow became smooth, and the muck got removed, muck of clinging to my ideas of, or opinions about myself. Yeah, so very powerful. Yes.
And this last one also, Monica, you could just read that. I didn't read it in the book once you are done. This is also, I just read it. इसके बाद जहाँ पे खत्म हो रहा है ना, when one truly attains wisdom.
Yeah.
That's also very beautiful. But please finish. I thought, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
So this, you were mentioning Kabir. So I just remembered one of his dohas on this, exactly this, that he says, the first line I am forgetting. In the second one he says, sadhu jab tak bhay kare, jab tak pinjar mein saas. So as long as I have breath in the body, the vigilance that you were mentioning, at that long I have to be vigilant, because this slipping can happen anytime. So you may be right now, one may be without blocks and one is channeling the grace. But in the next moment, as you said, something praise came and it stick to you. And you said, oh, I was the one, who was channeling, and the game is gone, over for some time. So yeah, it's very dangerous. This falling into an abyss of egoistic consciousness. Yeah. And
on the very same lines, I'm sorry, I'm a bit excited. So
please. Yeah.
It's like I was reading something on purity. It was again by the mother. And there she again had mentioned, like in a regular world, like morality and ethics is considered so high. And the definitions of purity is also, like either physical purity or, mostly we get stuck on the exterior. But mother said true purity is a one who's always vigilant, who's vigilant of where he is going so that he doesn't go anywhere. Like the spiritual purity is about vigilance. How beautiful is that? Like, again, so yeah. And then if, yeah, please continue.
Yeah, I actually I see this purity, and whenever we listen to words of Tenzing Palmo, you see it, very, very starkly, and it's very, very inspirational, because there is someone in front of you who has practiced so much, and the humility you see there, even there, when someone is asking that, could you please lead us into meditation, a person who has 12 years meditated, and she says, oh no, I can't lead you into meditation, you learn from masters and teachers. So amazing, really. Yeah, very powerful. I find it very fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, please, anyone who, I have children.
Would you want to a screen share once again the last
Yeah.
paragraph, if we'll just go through that?
Yeah.
So here, this is the one I was referring to, that when one truly attains wisdom, the true wisdom, the wisdom Sri Aurobindo is speaking of here, there is no longer higher and lower. There is only a play of forces in which each thing has its place and its importance. And if there is a hierarchy, it is a hierarchy of surrender to the Supreme. It is not a hierarchy of superiority with regard to what is below. So even hierarchy has its place, but depends on, hierarchy of what. Yeah. And I think this is why, one mostly feels repulsed by these religious practices, and how the priests were there and how you actually see them in movies and all that. There's so much that, I don't step here, or I don't eat this, or, this is me and this is you. I remember in one of the documentaries about Kabir, remember, Monica, that a lady from the US, Columbia University, had come to a Kabir saint, a person who had been studying Kabir all his life in Varanasi. And the first thing he asked was, which caste do you belong to? Are you okay to be even sitting here with me? Like, how interesting is that?
Yeah, Taru, it's these two are also nice. If once you are done with this one,
Why don't you read? This is, I think, done only. Yeah, you can please.
आप ये दोनों भी पढ़ लो, अच्छे लग रहे हैं.
Acha. And with human understanding, human reason, human knowledge, one is unable to discern this hierarchy. Only the awakened soul can recognize another awakened soul, and then the sense of superiority disappears completely. True wisdom comes only when the ego disappears, and the ego disappears only when you are ready to abandon yourself completely to the Supreme Lord without any personal motive and without any expectation of profit, when you do it because you cannot do otherwise. Yeah.
I think what mothers shares, that be on the path, or just because you can't be otherwise, and be authentic, be sincere, just because you can't be otherwise, and not for using that as a means to an end. Usually in our limited mind we use everything owing to our conditioning, that 10th pass कर ले उससे क्या मिलेगा, college मिलेगा, college pass कर ले उससे क्या मिलेगा, job मिलेगी. So everything is used as a means to an end. And here mother shares again and again also in other writings that just be good, because you can't be otherwise. You just be good for the sake of being good, not that being good will fetch you something. Yeah, so this is very nice.
And I have a small child, and I see this, it's like when we are raising kids or when we are talking to them, a lot of time we, motivate them also like this, that, do this, then you will get this, right? Like if you'll do this, then mama will be very happy, or, like, whatever. And that is where the, the roots of these are laid. And then we don't even realize how we have become like this, right? Like everything is a means to a gain or a end, and nothing can be done just because, usually. But yeah, and then one transcends that.
I think the earlier passage also reminds me of, after this I will stop, what you were sharing, the other day, that absent presence that we were talking of, that uh, whenever we see some beauty or grace in either our own being or, in somebody else, it is specifically when that the blockage of ego in the pipe is not there. But very soon the ego jumps up again and says, that claims it, that ये मैंने किया था, but one has to ask the ego, but you were not even there when it was happening. So yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, anyone who has anything, please.
Yeah, so thank you. So I think what you were saying and what Taru and all of us were, I think it's a constant, like, having now I've just started sort of reading a bit, and having watched a couple of, the sessions on the vital, it's a constant catch, it's a constant, like, one has to catch oneself all the time. And as you said, right, at some points when you are being reactive, and you just, like, at that minute stop, and you catch yourself constantly. uh, it's you want to make it effortless, but yet there is so much of effort put into it, right? And I yeah, to work towards the effortless is going to be, yeah, there is an effort to it, right? Yeah. In fact, and I think one more sentence, I think what when you said, right, the I am part of it, and I was reading the other day, so how when somebody says, I think it was in one of the chapters, I'm not sure, but it says that when people say I am humble, then you drop, you cannot say I am humble, because there is, you have to drop the I am, has to be, if you're humble. You cannot say that, the I am humble. And that's, I think, some of the, so it's, yeah, it's quite a lesson, and every day, every minute, every second, every, uh, yeah. And of course, like how Taru said, no, about when you're raising children, you're always in that catch-22 situation. No, if I say this, am I being true and authentic? If I don't say it, what are the repercussions of, what will happen to the, because uh, then there are two things playing, right? It's either the fear or it's the love. Now, is it the intensity of it is becomes something that one has to again reflect upon. So, thank you.
I remember reading again from the mother. She had said that, the people I find most difficult to convert are the people who call themselves respectable. Like she said, they are the hardest because they have so much to say about themselves, and, their opinions are just exhausting. It's very amazing how there are certain things which are supposed to be so good, right? Like being respected is considered so high on our regular moral ground. And yet, Monica, I think we have shared a few times, right? Like, I think once in Art of Living, it was Sri Sri who said that the day you lose your respect, like if in others' eyes or your own, even in your own, I don't know, like whatever you think as respectful, when you are able to let go of that, कि ये भी नहीं चाहिए, I don't want this too, because I have to pay a price to, stick to that image of the one who is respectable, is the day your journey starts. Before that, you're just playing, catch and ball with, I don't know, whoever, but then you start on this path. There, she had also mentioned something about humility. That's why the connect that, respectable or feeling respectable is a different thing. That is not needed, but a little bit of humility, just a touch to know that, you are still insincere, you're still insincere, you're still insincere, because you can never be sincere enough. It's always, a kind of a process in place is what is actually needed to keep realizing where you are. Yeah.
And parallelly also to, as we were talking about the vigilance, and Nandini was sharing about this constant effort that is needed, parallelly to be almost on high alert, about this something in us which sticks to things, sticks to labels, wants the labels, wants the, the respect, as you were sharing. Nandini was talking about the I am humble, to ab wo wala label chahiye, matlab kuch na kuch chahiye. So this something in us which is always wanting to stick. And mother has shared, I think, such a beautiful description again and again comes in words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. She shares that this is our journey. The journey is from the stickiness to the non-stickiness, desire soul to the true soul. And to notice that right now I am functioning from the desire soul because I want to be sticky. I think that if one can notice within oneself, it's a very good little baby step that, okay, then you can take a step back. Once you have ran enough, you have stuck to people enough, people, life situations, wanted enough, ran enough. Then now when I keep see it rising in my being, this stickiness, now I can say that, okay, I have had enough. I want to take a step back. So that running also has, I believe, its own importance, because it makes us more and more convinced that nothing is to be gained there. Yeah.
Chitraji, do you have any sharing today?
Yeah, because I too read the same thing actually about the ego, about the doership. Yeah, it's from Synthesis of Yoga only, but you can bring it, I think, collected works of Mother, volume number 7 and 8.
Could you tell me the sentence?
Yeah, that question I will read from Synthesis of Yoga first. Our sense of personal effort and aspiration comes from the attempt of the this one, yes, comes from the attempt of the egoistic mind to identify itself in a wrong and imperfect way with the workings of the divine force. So in that class, that student asked Mother, what is it that you do not understand? The sentence or the idea? The idea, Mother. It can be put in very familiar terms. The individual being, and particularly the mind in it, have an instinctive repulsion to admitting that it is another force than their own small personal one which does things. There is a kind of instinct which makes you feel absolutely convinced that the effort of aspiration, the will to progress, are things belonging to you by your own right, and therefore that you have all the merit. From the man of art or of literature or of science who produces something, studies something, and is absolutely convinced that it is he himself who is doing it, to the aspirant yogi who is convinced that it is the order of his own aspiration, his personal need for realization, which push him. If someone tells these people, I have heard this experience, if someone tells them a little too soon, why? No, it is the divine who aspires in you. It is the divine force which produces in you. They no longer do anything, they fall flat. It doesn't interest them at all any longer. They say, good, I have nothing to do then. Let the divine do it. Next para I will go, or yeah, because this is the continuation next para also. And this is what Sri Aurobindo means, that the mind is something so egoistic and so proud that if you take away from it the satisfaction it seeks, it no longer collaborates, nor the vital either. And as the physical is very obedient to the vital and the mind, it too collaborates no longer. Then one is before an inert mass which says, good, if it is not, well, let the divine do what he likes. I'm not going to do anything at all anymore. I knew people who had truly made a lot of progress, who are very close to the moment when one emerges into the truth of things, and who were held back simply by this. Because this need to be the source of the action, to have the merit of the effort. This need is so deeply rooted that they cannot take the last step. Sometimes it takes years. If they are told, no, it is not you, this energy which is in you, this will which is in you, this knowledge which is in you, all this is divine. It is not what you call yourself. This makes them so miserable that they can't do anything anymore. That is what Sri Aurobindo wants to say in this sentence. There are people who have such a need to keep the sense of their separate personality that if they are forced to admit that all the springs upwards is inspired by the divine or even done by him, they keep for the little person the whole side of defects, faults, errors, and they cherish the defects, so that at least something remains theirs, which is indeed their own, their personal property. Yes, all that is beautiful, luminous is the divine. All horrible things, that's myself. But a self, a big self, one must not touch it. Yeah, this is very touching today. I read this actually. And yeah, everything is from divine, but yeah, first in the initial stages when we aspire and when we take steps to fulfill our aspiration, this that joy, no, we are doing it, we are aspiring, we are doing it, yeah. But it takes long time to realize, no, we are not doing anything. That that aspiration is also coming from the divine only, yeah. That feeling, when I read this, really.
The last
But
paragraph
recently
was
also,
really beautiful.
yeah.
The last one, the last line.
Yeah, because even the defects, at least the defects we will keep for ourselves, no, actually. That is the last one. There are people who have such a need to keep the sense of their separate personality, yes. If they are forced to admit that all that springs upwards is inspired by the divine, even done by him, they keep for the little person the whole side of defects, faults, errors, yes. And the next one small paragraph is there that is also connected with that. That is very beautiful. Mother is telling the defects are not ours, but from nature. Because again, the question arises. I'll read that also. Same.
Please, yes, please. Is it
Yeah.
the same text or a different one?
No, this continuation.
Okay.
You just go there.
Yeah.
After that, yeah. Mother at times, one maybe, why does, and yeah. This is work of nature, yes. At times, one spontaneously feels an aspiration, and at other moments, when one wants to aspire, it is no longer spontaneous. Then what is the difference? Does the divine aspire? Sri Aurobindo answers this. He describes it extremely well. For all this darkness, all this inconscience, all this ignorance is not at all something personal. It is the condition of the world, the state of matter, the state of physical life. And it enters you, makes you act. It is like something pulling the strings of the puppet. All these desires, all these impulses, all these currents of force are things in which pass through you, which you obey without even being aware of it, and which you take for yourself. And there is no yourself in this affair. It comes from everywhere and goes everywhere. You are a public square. Things enter, go out, makes you move. Yeah, when I read this, I remember in the Savitri session, we read about Prakriti and Purusha. And this is all lower Prakriti, for all this darkness, all this inconscience, ignorance. Yes.
I think reading this makes one very relaxed. That there is nothing personal about our either defects, weaknesses,
Yeah.
or our achievements or successes. There's nothing personal there, because
Yeah,
this
that
little
is very
personal thing-
important. Achievements and success
Yeah.
is also not yours. Yeah, that is very important. Because we will, yeah. Yeah.
So I want to ask something. Since I've just joined these sessions, this is only the second session which I've attended so far, and you all have you're reading excerpts from which are very inspiring and very nice. I was wondering which books are you all referring to, and if I can also get them, I'll be happy to start reading all that.
Actually, this, I don't know, this edition you are having now, this is one of the small book from Synthesis of Yoga. Mother has taken classes, but you can get it from Incarnate Word, but you can explain Taru about it.
Yeah, Sujata ji, there's this website called The Incarnate Word. I don't know if you're aware of it. So in that, all the texts of, I think mostly all, I would say almost all, the written text, the spoken things from Mother and Sri Aurobindo are available. But then these books actually do help, because then you have continuity of various things. For me, I'm like, the Sunlit Path is always there. I don't know if you're like, it's by the Mother, the Sunlit Path. And then currently I'm reading Growing Within. So anything, that I like in this, which I want to look into further, that I type on Incarnate Word, or if I just say, this word freedom came to me. So I just typed in Incarnate Word and I just saw what all there was. And, there were certain things I resonated with. But to begin with, I think like any book, and I think Captain is also reading Synthesis of Yoga these days. Yeah. The synthesis, the synthesis of yoga. Yeah.
Yeah, so Sujata di, have you been reading words by Mother or Sri Aurobindo, or this is the first time that you're starting? You're muted.
I only have been following the things which you all are sending in the WhatsApp messages.
Okay.
And I have not started reading anything as such. But it's very interesting and very enlightening rather. And I would like to start reading about and Sri Aurobindo.
So it's better actually, for the beginning, for all of us, it's better if we start not directly with the Synthesis of Yoga or Life Divine, but with words of the Mother, because they are very, very simple. And as Taru was sharing these two booklets, Sunlit Path and Growing Within, very simple, easy to get get kind of connected with. And on the website, I think we can share the link here. On our website, there are many PDFs that we have uploaded in resources. Are you there on the Friday Study Circle group?
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
WhatsApp. Yeah, I read the messages which come.
Yes, so we can share that link there, and from there you can download. If right now you don't have the hard copy of the book,
Yeah,
you can download the PDFs which are by the mother.
I would like to do that.
Yeah, I will share the link. We can share, Taru or me. We can share the link, and then you can get started with question and answers with the mother, or these reflections with the mother. They're very easy to get started with, and yeah, very inviting also. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And in other case, if you want to buy these books that Taru was referring to, then you can go to Sabda online. I don't know if you're aware of it. We can share it again on the WhatsApp group.
I'm
So
not a very savvy person as far as technology is concerned.
अच्छा हाँ, तो आप hard copy prefer करोगे rather than PDF, right?
No, I can sit and read on my laptop.
You can. Oh, that's beautiful.
This is I'm talking to you through my laptop only.
Beautiful. So then the PDFs would work. So then you have enough material to keep you absorbed for a lifetime. Everything is available. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Just send me the link, please.
We will share the link.
I'll start downloading and.
Great. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Someone else also asked about the book. No, now someone typed. No? I have the book, but this book only, but I don't know whether you are getting it. You are Sharada Ganesh. You are in Bangalore, no?
Yeah, in Bangalore.
Yeah, you are Dhana's friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Acha, I think we met in Pondicherry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you won't get, I think this book is not available in Sabda now, but but this talk you can get it from Incarnate Word. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sarada ji, you can go to Chitra ji's place for a cup of tea and borrow a lot of books from her.
Yeah.
So I went to her place once,
yeah.
actually.
So I
saw the name, then I found out.
Sorry.
So Letters on Yoga is also very good to start with, Sujata ji. Yes.
This is very good. Yeah.
So I have this library of books, so I can read this, but I'd like to have the PDF.
We will share. We will share. Yes.
So I think before we end, what Chitra ji had just shared, like not to let it slip through the cracks, like especially this last paragraph that Monica had even referred to. I think it's really, I think nothing is that wasn't really very important, but again, it's like, how we often discuss that the root of the problem is me taking things personally, right? I take everything personally, no matter what it is. And that's what it's, shared today, that for all this darkness, this inconscience, all this ignorance is not at all something personal. Condition of the world, state of matter, state of physical, it enters you, it acts through you, and it's like pulling the strings of the puppet. That how do I accept I'm a puppet, right? Like it takes a lot of courage. Again, it just keeps reminding me of how, that Tulsi Das Doha, right? That Tulsi Kuta Ram ka. Wherever you tell me, I'll go wagging my tail. I'm your dog. But, I don't know, a learned person, kind of like a person sitting with so many books and stuff, he might not be able to say that because, he has so much that he has done to gain that reputation and that respect again. But a Tulsi Das is very happily saying this, that, yes, you pull my strings, I'm your dog. It's like the beauty in realizing your smallness, or, not really your smallness, but actually I don't know, that you have no control, that you are being controlled, and you are just an instrument, if I might just say that. It's so immense, and it takes such a big heart, a strong heart, and that offered and surrendered will that yes, it's you. So all these desires, impulses, forces which pass through you, which you obey without even being aware of it. I'm fine. Suddenly I feel angry. I, just lash out. And then I'm like, I don't know where that came from. But it didn't stop me from lashing out, right? It became me. Either, I became it or it became me. And yet it was just something passing through. Somebody in the next room was angry. I caught it. And here I whatever. So it's just amazing that how, again, it also reminds me of how they say that, God has a sense of humor, but we don't think he's humorous. But anything that can be taken with so much kind of, me, mere saath hua, it happened to me. Or it can just be funny, or it can be light, because there's nothing personal. The good, the bad, there's nothing personal. It comes from everywhere and it goes everywhere. And I think this is very popular, right? You are a public square. Mother says this a lot. The things enter, go out and make you move. But for me to actually accept this, that yes, I am a public square, what I need to actually say this, it's pretty immense.
Yeah, that is why mother used to tell, no, because before you realize that psychic, you become an individual, no? Yeah. You are aware of all the things, yes, coming to you.
And I think if I don't take my own weaknesses personally, it also helps me to relate better with other people around. Because if I'm taking my failures, my
Correct.
mistakes very, very seriously, that this is me, I have this weakness, I have that weakness, then I would also see the other person the same way. And if I hold it very loosely, that okay, they are there, need to work, but nothing really personal, then I'm more empathetic, I would say, towards other people, that okay, weaknesses do exist, and it doesn't make us superior or inferior. And
Inferior, yeah. That
so
is
again,
true.
a better
Very true.
relationship. Yes.
Very true. Yeah.
Actually, when I surrender, fully surrender, then I is not there, because I am guided by someone, some spirit, which is telling me every moment what to do, what not to do, and all this, which is coming from inside. So this after total surrender, the I thing will go off actually, because I am not deciding what is to be done in this situation or something. It is coming to my mind automatically, as if it has been supplied by somebody else. Like Swami Vivekananda, when he went to United States of America, and the first time it's a gathering he was to speak, when his name was announced, then he didn't know actually what to speak, how to start off. So he started with the salutation, and then the things are coming to him. He is telling that the one by one, and everything, and whatever the lectures he delivered during that time, and this all as if it was supplied by somebody else. It's not that he has read somewhere and he was by-hearted and he was trying to reproduce or something and all this. What was coming to his mind? Coming to his mind means it is again by it has been pushed through him actually. So it was coming from that side. So there's a total surrender is the must. Then all this I think that I have gained, I have this thing, that will go off. It will not be there.
On this, Kabir shares a couplet on this, what you are sharing. He says, Ram naam ki loot hai, loot sake to loot, पाछे में पछताएगा जब प्राण जाएंगे छूट. So actually, what just you shared, it's like, imagine that there is nothing but grace. Wherever you see space is equivalent to grace. So just for a moment, visualize that whatever you see is grace. Now ego comes in the picture and it blocks the grace. So it's not that the grace is not omnipresent. Grace is forever present. But this blocks or muck or ignorance, it comes in the way and it blocks it. And that's what you were saying, to total surrender. So the moment I bow down, you know, and I dissolve in one particular moment only. You know, this happens with each one of us. In one moment, if I am not existing, the graces. Where Kabir shares, जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है तो मैं नहीं. So the grace is everywhere, but the blocks are also there. So the moment blocks are not there, all there is the beauty and the grace and wisdom and, you know, whatever the light. Yeah. So yeah, very, very beautiful.
When Ramakrishna Paramahansa was doing his sadhana, it's a big long training actually. As under training. So one teacher came of Advaitavadi. He's from Ludhiana. His name was Totapuri.
Yeah.
So this Totapuri was to teach him that Advaitavad, because there is no two actually. There is only the God. God is there, or me is there. There are no two persons. There is only one. So the moment he says that I have come from so and so, and so I want to teach you this. So he says, just let me go and ask my mother. That is the. So he thought. The Totapuri thought that he is going to his real mother who has given him birth. He never knew that he is going to Mother Kali, the goddess Kali, the temple in Dakshineshwar in Kolkata. So he was not knowing that he is going to that. He was thinking that this is stone actually. How can there be mother? You cannot be mother. Mother may be flesh and blood and all this. That mother was also there at the time. So he's thinking, just let me have my permission from my mother and then I'll come back. And he says, okay. He says, okay. Later on, he realized that it was not that mother actually, flesh and blood. He went to the stone and he asked and he got the permission. He got the permission, he learned. Which was learned in many, many years. He could learn within 4 days. That the thing was over actually. Then he asked, because there was something happened and all. Then it was by the side of the Ganges. So he wanted to commit suicide, Totapuri. So he was going into the Ganges. Now, wherever he is going, it is only knee-deep water. It's not that water is not there. Wherever he is moving in that Ganges, it's becoming knee-deep. Because mother did not like that he should die actually. So then finally something happened to his mind. So there's a change in the mind. So then he went to God and
Before that, he was a pure
so
Advaitin, no?
he thought that yes,
Advaitin.
this is
Yeah.
also possible, because that Advaitavad never says that it is not there. It is there in everywhere, whether it is a material or life or plant and animals and they, human being, everywhere it is there. So that only the realization, this is the actual realization. That is also Advaitavad. So just because you are doing puja or a particular god, particular type of god, that doesn't mean that you're practicing many more gods or something. So that was, it was coming to my mind, because it says that I have to ask the permission from one, because he says I'm like a machine. Ramakrishna Paramahansa says I'm like a machine, and she's all in all actually. Whatever she says, I do only that much. That's all, nothing else. And anything I want to do, and if somebody asks me to do, I have to ask permission from her, and she will guide me how to do it or what to do it. Thank you.
In case there's any comments by anybody, we can take those. Otherwise, I think, Monica, should we end now?
Yeah.
So I guess it's a thank you from our side. Thank you so much for joining and sharing so
Thank
much
you.
of yourselves with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Very insightful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.